the federal government invests a tremendous amount of money in higher education and has for many, many years, not just in the research domain, but in federal student aid, in relief funds in the case of the global pandemic. The federal government has, in essence, entered into a compact with higher education in this country. And one could make the case that universities have not closed the loop with the federal government in showing the return on investment or the value or the strategic use of those funds in a way that meets goals. And I think that's particularly true in the federal student aid area. I think in research, it's fairly easy to show the results of a scientific study. In the case of federal student aid, it's kind of a black box, and I think universities have never been really asked to close the loop. But I think with all of the scrutiny that's now being placed on higher education and all of the discussions around public perceptions of higher ed, I think as we think about recapturing the narrative of the value of higher ed, we also have to recapture responsibility for how we steward those federal investments and then show the public how those monies are being used for our greater benefit. We should demonstrate to society why these investments are important and how their lives are being made better. I can point to certainly the entire land grant collection of universities by mission, statute, and purpose. They're set up not only for teaching and learning, not only for research and discovery, but also for service to their communities and to their broader society. Historically, the distinction among publics was between, say, flagships and land grants, or between public flagships and land grants and regionals. Those kind of distinctions were more typical. What I've seen in the last decade, my career has been at public and land grant universities. What I've seen in the last decade is the distinction between a public flagship and a land grant is very little at this point. We have all, in one way or another, and often in multiple ways, embraced the social compact, embraced our commitment to our communities and to our state and in the region and the nation. And I can point you to several public flagships that look very land grant, and you can't distinguish. Arizona State would be an example. Many people might think Arizona State is the land grant, not just because state is there, but because of our charter and because of the way we comport ourselves and because of the recognition that we've generated for how we serve society. We are not the land grant. The University of Arizona is the state's land grant. They have the College of Agriculture, they have the Extension Service, and so forth. Publics and land grants, I think, are good examples of universities that have embraced that. The privates have been a little bit slower. There are privates that are deeply connected with their communities and take institutional responsibility in the way that ASU takes institutional responsibility for their communities. Two that come to mind would be Johns Hopkins in Baltimore and Yale in New Haven. Elite private universities that recognize not just the privilege that they have, but the obligation that they have to helping members of their community and helping their entire community be lifted up, become safer, and become more prosperous.